Yeah, man. You know what? I've noticed that it might be. I hope it's not the norm in the podcast industry, but I'm noticing that as well, where the lack of passion, it starts to like fizzle out after a while. And I'm not sure if everybody started doing it for the same reason that I did, so therefore I can't like really attribute it to one factor. But I will say, man, it gets really discouraging when you don't see that foot traffic, when you don't, when you do certain things and algorithms that aren't built for your type of content. You're trying to inspire people, you're trying to really grow into your own as well, and those algorithms don't play into our content. As a matter of fact, it doesn't like our content at all. As a matter of fact, our
What?
content our content would be the negative. It'd be the antimatter for that algorithm, man. It's good. It's good for the people that like really love it and enjoy it, but it makes it harder for them to find it because of all the other shit that they're constantly barraged with. You know.
So I know that you've taken a big break here, and that's something that I do myself quite a bit. Just trying to keep the balance of doing it for the right reasons, not making it obligation to where it's work. I wanted to show that passion that you're talking about. But was that part of the reason why you took a break? Is that you were sort of seeing that and getting discouraged by it?
No, not necessarily. If I'm being honest with you, the real reason why I took a break is because a lot of the changes that I want to see and talk about, they don't happen via conversation. It
Mm.
happens via action. Like you got to go actually be in these streets, making those moves, shaking those hands, and kissing those babies in order to see some of the things that we talk about actually come into fruition. So I started to see myself almost like running in place, or somebody that's constantly in the gym working out, but not using their muscles for anything. And that's what podcasting started to become, man. I started doing research on topics and shit like that. I started really diving deep into my perspectives on things, but it wasn't doing anything if I'm only in the gym, like working out all the time. Like I need to actually go use these muscles if I actually want to see the benefits of what I'm doing. So the discipline that I have for podcasting now, I've taken that and just like turned it towards actually experiencing things. Like if I'm ultimately curious about what's going on my timeline, I can have that same curiosity for things in my life that are more immediate to me. Like my own personal defense, like taking that into account. Like I got my license to carry recently, and I've started to develop this knowledge on what it means to actually carry a handgun and what it means to protect myself and people around me. Not by using my weapon to defend myself, but by using my main weapon, which is my brain, my mind, in order to keep situations like that defused or preventing them from happening in the first place. It's my responsibility to be accountable for what I do and what I say. Yeah, I love talking to people. I love sharing ideas. Man, both of us have our own respective platforms, and we do our best to create this community of people that are like-minded, man. But being out in the streets is so much more fulfilling. Going and touching grass, going and seeing the things that I talk about, and actually like breathing the air is so much better than just like being online, bro. I swear there's no connection on these phones anymore, man. It doesn't feel like I'm
Mm.
actually connecting with people the way I've always wanted to.
Mm.
Seeing an authentic smile, evoking laughter from somebody with my reactions to certain things, actually getting down and like touching somebody and be like, yo, you're okay. You're going to be just fine. Going and like talking to people about anxiety, but actually hugging somebody with anxiety, trembling and shaking from fear. That's different than just talking about it and encouraging somebody. So I wanted to embrace all of this passion and all the things I talk about in real life, man. So that's why I was like, man, fuck that microphone. I can actually go do shit. You know what I'm saying? I can actually
Yeah,
go
man.
talk to people and be around people. So I go do that. Fuck all of this. Like, fuck all
No,
that talking.
man. I'm so glad you're saying that. I'm so glad you're saying that. It's been something that I've struggled with as well. It's like because of the algorithms, and maybe it's hard. Like you're saying, it's hard for people to find us. I don't feel like I'm being as impactful as I can be, and it's something that I talk about on Creating Greatness all the time. It's like we want to strive. I want to strive and encourage people to strive for impactful lives.
Yeah.
And so I felt that way, and it was important for me to like go volunteer at the prison or talk to people in real life. I want to do it more. What are some of these ways that you've been able to accomplish these like one-on-ones? Because I feel those same highs that you were just speaking about. Like just the other day, I a friend of mine was going through something. I was talking to him face to face, and I really helped him over like a simple problem. And the gratitude that he displayed to me, I was like on a high all day long. Like hours and hours later, I'm like, yo, why am I in such a good mood? And I realized it's because you helped somebody today and they
Yeah.
genuinely expressed gratitude and were like hype about it. And that made me hype about my life, man. So what are some of the ways that you've been doing that?
Man, I'm telling you, it's all about what you want to promote, right? Lately, specifically when it comes to my creative side, I've been really wanting to, um, for lack of a better way of putting it, um, to console that inner child. I really have always felt like the creative adult was the child that survived, and you got to really do your best to console that person and make sure they know that nobody saw you fall. Nobody cares if you didn't go to the party. It's okay that you have these feelings. It's okay that you don't want to talk. It's okay that even though you have a platform, you don't feel the need to create like everybody else. I started seeing this pattern of what now people call content creators. And I'm not a content creator, bro. I'm a
Mm,
person with a platform. I don't do that shit, bro. I don't be on here trying to get clicks, and I don't care about how many likes I have or who followed or like, share, and subscribe now so I can get monetized. I could care less. Like I don't want to do ads. I don't want to beg people to enjoy certain things. And I don't think that all ads are begging, don't get me wrong. But I'm
mm,
saying what it's come down to, especially now that it's become the norm, that's what it seems like that now the platform, the place where I came to be the most creative, has now turned into this space that's pay to play.
yeah.
And it's not been healthy for me. So I've just gone out and like literally started to embrace that, like I said, that creative adult in me. Started going to the park more, bro. Like, when's the last time you were on some monkey bars? You know what I'm saying? And like
I
genuinely,
have kids not long ago.
hey, that's what's up, bro. And it's possibly because you got those children around you, but I don't have any children, man. So I have to constantly chase that childlike energy within me. Even though I am a man, I'm an adult for sure. It's not negating that and being comfortable with embracing that in environments where it's comfortable to do so. I'm on monkey bars now, bro. I'm constantly going and playing games that I liked as a kid, like Foursquare. Just randomly playing Foursquare with some kids, you know what I'm saying? I actually went and just go play basketball at least 5 times a week. I'm just going and playing one-on-one basketball, shooting shots. I don't want to be KD. I'm not trying to be MJ. You know what I'm saying? I might never have a post game or a fadeaway like Kobe. No, it's therapeutic. It reminds me of a somber time, of a place where I really came from, this place of just pure purity. You know what I'm saying? I came from a place of just like naivety almost about what was outside of this creative space that I'm in. Going to the court, going to the playground, almost like the sandbox environment. Everything that happens inside the sandbox, I can control. And I've been happy with being in these places that I now look at as sandboxes. Even now, bruh, other people's platforms, my platform, I'm going to start utilizing those things as sandboxes again. Not being so much concerned about what they're doing outside there, man. I'm in my creative space. I'm in my studio. This is where I do what I do. If you don't understand the language I'm speaking, well, then stay the fuck up out the kitchen or the studio. You know what I'm saying? This wasn't meant for you. And if you do come in the sandbox, play accordingly while we playing in the sandbox. And if you don't like what we're doing, then take your ball and go home. But we're going to create safe spaces, not only for ourselves first, but for those around us to be themselves. So, like I said, that's what I've been doing, bro. It's just going and creating a sandbox like environment wherever these healthy places arise.
Mm. Man, I mean, I applaud you. I applaud you for
Yeah,
taking that leap. I
that shit
applaud you for
different,
taking
bro.
that leap. A lot of people with the technology nowadays, they're stuck in that box, not the
Yeah,
sandbox, but the box. And I'm guilty of it as well, man.
yeah.
So, what are your plans like moving forward? Are you going to integrate? Like, are you going to bring it together a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, or you think you're going to more stray away from podcasting in general?
You know, it's wild, bro. There's like different types of ways of thinking, right?
Mm,
I've approached podcasting multiple different ways, but the ways that have been more successful for me are two different ways of thinking. And I'm just like freestyling this, y'all. So y'all gotta
yeah.
forgive me if the logic's all over the place. But it's like you have a waffle brain and then you got the spaghetti brain. All right. Now, I've been doing spaghetti brain podcasting this past almost 2 years, man. And what I mean by that is everything goes together. I'm talking about all the noodles intertwined, the sauce, the meat, everything's just what it's going to be. The platform is all encompassing all this other stuff and whatnot. But I haven't really honed in on a niche. And I'm not really closing the door on certain things and not being as definitive as I'd like to be on certain stances that this community has. So instead of just intertwining everything and just putting everything up and running everything, now I'm starting to develop this waffle style brain to where everything has its cell, everything has its moment, and I'm perfectly pouring into these honeycombs almost to make sure I'm filling up these boxes and make sure I'm checking every box. Therefore, we have something substantial to go look back on. When people come and hear the unbiased truth, or when people talk about creating greatness, they are going to know what that means and what frequency they're going to need to vibrate at in order to catch this, bruh. Because at this point, we always talk about having faith. We always talk about doing the work, but you also need to literally embody the work at some point. And being definitive about what we do and how we do what we do is gonna be that core. I don't want to sound too culty, but I'm gonna say that core process. You know what I'm saying? That SOP. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot
Standard
of
operating procedure.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That SOP for your community. If you don't have that for your community, you can let anybody in. They can have any type of rhetoric. People can say the unbiased truth is anything they want to call it. But when you have those guidelines, when you have that very, very specific way that you want to vibrate at certain frequencies, they can't deny it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's only going to have to come from a place of righteousness. And most of that comes through collaboration. And ultimately, like, I mean, if you want to look at it, very, very in-depth collaboration, but also intense isolation. That's how you get the best understanding for yourself and others.
I think it brings authenticity as well, man.
Yeah, man.
I think that, and when you are that way, it almost doesn't depend on how you are, because when you're that truly authentic, people seem to respond to it. And like you said, the people vibrating around that frequency are gonna come, and the ones that don't will stay away. And in a way, your language is very different than I would use it between spaghetti brain and waffle brain, but I'm transitioning into the same sort of arena with my podcasting and in my life in general for a long time, because my life was so very bad. And I was able to transition it into what I perceive to be, and I'm sure most people would, very successful life, very happy life. I thought, wow, these things are so easy. I just didn't know it. And I would see people out there, when I was working at a regular job, and I would see people struggling through their day to day, just dragging themselves through life. And I would be sad for them. I would go, they don't know that it's here, man. Tap into it. It's the universal energy that flows through all things, and it's within us as well. It's not always easy to stay connected, but if you could just tap in a little bit, man, you're going to be bursting with excitement and happiness about life. Sure, there'll still be the fluctuations. So that was the drive of creating greatness. And in that, striving to be impactful in that way of helping people, like I helped myself. I never tried to be too biased. I always tried to keep the platform open for all. I tried never really to offend any one specific group, although I'm sure I have on occasion, by just opinions. But and this is something I wanted to talk to you about, but it seems like we're on a lighter note, but it does get a little more serious, because to me, these are serious times. They're not times to be idle. They're not times for, being trapped in this box where you're really not out there and connected. But when I see the things, and I'm talking about current events, when I'm looking at these things in a very broad way, as big as I can create it, me and my family, not just me. So I'm wondering how you feel about this, and maybe how some of the spiritual warriors out there listening, Creating Greatness, feel about it. Creating Greatness Podcast at Gmail. Maybe you're going to think I'm crazy, but I have very firmly come to the concrete realization that we are living in some sort of biblical revelationary times where there are extreme evils happening throughout the world, and in large part right here at home. And then, to quote Andrew Tate, who's talking about Isaac Newton and the things that he talked about, was there has to be a counterforce to those things. And I just feel like now, like, well, if you are on the wrong side of this thing, whether it's unconsciously or consciously, because a lot of people unconsciously are plugged into the matrix day to day without even realizing it. They're cogs in the system. And, maybe they have happy lives, wives, kids, husbands, whatever that may be, but maybe they don't realize it. And the decisions that they're making are keeping these evil machinations revolving. And so I've been saying things and will continue to be saying things that may offend people who are still asleep. But I really just want to challenge people. I want to make you think. I want to open your mind. I want to uplift your heart. I want to encourage people and become more impactful. So if you notice, I just transitioned that next season. And that was last episode. And if you'd like to continue to subscribe and bring it in, I have no agenda. I don't want your money. I have not maybe zero interest in all these things that Cam spoke about, but very little. If they come naturally and organically, then yes.
Yeah.
But my agenda is to uplift, and maybe in the same respect, you going out there in the streets, as you say, is doing the same thing. And, maybe it's great that I had you on, because this connection that we share and we all share now is motivating me more to get physically out there. I've been doing it a little bit, but I'm trying to find my stride with it. What's exactly for me? Like, I've been going to the prison, but those guys, some of them will never see the light of day. And while I can uplift their hearts for an hour or two, just sitting there playing poker with them or speaking with them about life, I feel that the need to be more impactful, like you're talking about. So I know I've sort of rambled and went all over the place, but what are your thoughts?
We've come to the point where silence is violence, and a lot of the silence can be worse than the violence. A lot of people are unconsciously doing things that are benefiting the matrix, including us, by not speaking up. You know what I'm saying? I'm very much a culprit of that, of not speaking when I should have said something, of not jumping right on it and being a part of the cavalry. And I understand that there's a lot of agendas out there. There's a lot of other platforms out there that do want to profit. But like you just said, we are beyond valuing your money. We're beyond valuing any type of material things you can provide to us. Are they going to come organically? Of course, because we're in the physical realm. But I more so value your acceptance spiritually, emotionally. There's nothing that anybody can do for me financially that I can't do for myself. And if I do need to profit, I don't need to profit from my community. Now, we can crowdsource and we can crowdfund, we can do fundraisers and do things for the platform. Sure. If this is going to help the platform, somebody within the community to elevate us, let's do it. But when it comes down to what you can do for me personally, there's nothing that anybody can do for me personally when it comes down to the funds, because I don't value those things, not from other people, not anymore. It used to be a point where, yeah, man, like this could be my job now. You know what I'm saying? This could fund my whole career. You know what I'm saying? This whole entire YouTubing and TikToking and content creating. But like I just told you, man, I'm a fucking content creator, man. I'm a real person with a platform who has righteous intentions. And a lot of those times, those types of intentions don't come with trophies. They don't come with rewards. Ain't no motherfucking high fives from people that are established. No, those come from people that are in your community, and you have to appreciate every single heart that beats in tune with yours. And if it's only one heart that beats in tune with yours, respect that and be accountable for the way you make people feel, man. Of course they're going to be offended. They don't know you. A lot of people are hell-bent on not understanding you. The level of willful ignorance that is going on around in the West right now is uncanny. People literally don't want to understand you because they don't have to understand you. They see where you're coming from, but they don't care to see where you're coming from. You know, the amount of stuff that we put out on the timeline that helps people feel good about themselves, it's wicked to people that don't want to feel good about themselves, and they don't want other people to feel good about themselves. Do you realize there's people that would rather have people feeling terrible because it lines their pockets with dollars? There's people that actively promote things that keep people anxious in the attempt to keep their pockets fat. That don't make me feel good. I know a lot of the shit we talk about has a lot of accountability and responsibility attached to it. That causes more anxiety than sugar attacks or some type of shit. Because you know what? Honestly, that shit is foreign to people that are constantly scrolling through their life. We're not scrolling through our life no more, man. And as much as I can tell, man, I'm trying my best to keep my head up and trying my best to look forward with my shoulders back and standing up straight. That's not easy. That's not common. It's not something that people are accustomed to. If you look at the average person these days, when they stand up, their neck's kind of bending forward because they're always on their fucking phone. If you look at some people's hands, you tell them to like hold their hand up, their phone damn near fits in their hand. Look at my hand. Look at that shit. My phone just fits. It fits. My hand has literally evolved and morphed to hold this fucking phone, man. It's that real, bro. That's a part of the matrix. That's all a part of the system. I'm not saying we're victims. We can be victors. We can overcome this stuff by making step-by-step choices to be more authentic to ourselves, man. I mean, I know a lot of people like to think that they're different, but we really are no different. Truly, we really are no different. Our makeups are all the same, but the frequencies we vibe at, the things we're able to understand, that's where things separate. And you and I have this ability to not only laugh at some of the things that go on through life, we're also able to help people grow, not only ourselves, but people around us. Like you said, man, you going to the prison, being able to speak to people. Most people wouldn't even volunteer their time to picking up trash off the side of the street. And that's in their community. You see what I'm saying? These are people that possibly are never going to be able to get out, like you said, and affect community anymore. But yet you're still out there sharing stories, sharing time. Like my brother used to call me, like passing the time, man. We just passing the time, bro. Out there passing the time and whatnot with people, man, that genuinely have stories to tell and have lessons that need to be taught. I'm not saying we have all the answers on these podcasts, bro. I'm not saying that listening to Creating Greatness podcast is going to make you feel like you're creating greatness. I'm not saying that listening to the Unbiased Truth is going to make you more unbiased. What I will tell you is that when you do listen to these podcasts moving forward, you're going to understand the narrative. And if you don't vibrate at the frequency, you're going to be very uncomfortable. You're going to be extremely uncomfortable. And it's not my fault anymore. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because the righteous intentions and the undertones behind this. I get it. You're uncomfortable. This is uncommon knowledge. These are things you haven't heard talked about so openly and comfortably. Get over it eventually or move the fuck around. We really can't accommodate everybody. This is not a one size fit all. This is not a all you can eat buffet. We serve in very specific portion sizes on this side. All right. So get with it to get lost. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just how we on now, bro. This is what we
No,
on.
man. That's exactly what I mean, really, as you talk more and more, it's exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, one of my very favorite motivational speakers at this point in time, one, because he's a man of faith, two, because he's just got hella style, Deion Sanders. He says that, like, don't let my confidence offend you. And then for you to move further and say, he said, I dress like this because I am this. I walk like this because I am this. So don't let my confidence offend you. And then for you to move on and say, the people's agenda in keeping you down because they feel uncomfortable about your confidence, or or worse, they're going to profit off of your depression and your anxiety and all of these things. And talking to combat these things and put forth that counterforce that I'm talking about is now, I spoke a couple minutes ago, I have no agenda. I now have one, and this is it, man. And it has renewed and refilled, my purpose, I think that an unfulfilled life is something that I was moving forward with is something that there's ultimately seeking. People are judging their work based upon propaganda. They're constantly in their phones. They're missing the connection between other human beings that we have. And we can get at that feeling like almost where, we're being mistreated, we're being oppressed. And then you could set off a whole downspin of other thoughts that are not necessary, because you have to reach that point of freedom. We're like, okay, you guys are doing that while I'm doing this. I talked about it last episode, a book called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And he says, when you reach that freedom of space, that free mentality, you no longer identify with the oppressors or the oppressed. You're operating in sort of a free space, and that's what I'm trying to create here. And it sounds like what you're working on as well.
Yeah, being a free thinking man is a crime in this day and age. It takes 1,000 good people to make one sage. It didn't used to always be that way. You know what I'm saying? Wise men were abundant. Don't let them fool you, man. Don't let them rewrite history. Wise men, free thinking men, philosophers, theologians, these were all over the place, man. And it's not just people that were famous. Even small men, according to society standards, had big ideas that changed the world. You see what I'm saying? So I can't just play small in order for somebody else to feel good. That doesn't serve me or the people that believe in me. They understand my influence just like you do. And I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier about the times that we're in, because it's extremely important to realize what we're dealing with. Currently, it's the year 2023. I know that because of the Gregorian calendar that we follow. You and I both know the world is much older than 2023 years old. As a matter of fact, you and I both know that time didn't start 2023 years ago. But it's very important to understand that not only do we go by a certain calendar that was agreed upon amongst everybody, but there were other calendars out there that documented time as well. And one calendar that ended about maybe 11 years ago was the calendar of the Maya calendar. And it marked the ending of a century. It marked the ending of a time and space, because they didn't just document the sun, it documented the planets, it documented the stars and where we were moving through the universe. You see what I'm saying? Because yes, the world is rotating and spinning on its axis, but they've almost lulled people to sleep to believe that we're just spinning on a rock and we're not going anywhere in space. We are moving through space and time. We're not just spinning and revolving on the axis and moving around a sun. We're moving around planets, stars, and we're moving through space and time. So the time and space that we're in right now was documented very, very precisely by the Maya calendar. As a matter of fact, they said December 21st, 2012 was the last day of the calendar. They said December 21st, 2012 was the last day of the calendar. And what did that date mark? It didn't mark the end of the world. It didn't mean that there will be an apocalypse. It didn't mean that it would be an Armageddon. That means that would be a time where the coming of an age would end and we would step into a brand new age. The age that we were coming out of right now is the age of Pisces. The age of Pisces is represented by two fishes. As a constellation in the sky, you'll see it in the sky, that's two fishes. Who also is represented by the fish? Jesus Christ. Two fishes, 5 loaves of bread. You get the point I'm going with, right? Okay. In the age of Pisces, they believed in deities. They believed in attributing things to the other deities, and they believed in having the martyr to be represented in certain cultures in order to be a signifying figure of sacrifice. That's why so many people really admire a martyr. I mean, think about it. In any religion, the most held person in that religion is more than likely a martyr for that religion. And for those that don't know what a martyr is, that is somebody that truly dies for what they believe in, for the greater good of not only the community, but for the human race at large. And so when we talk about dying for a martyr, that is very honorable. That is something that we really hung our head up on for thousands of years. But once you end the age of Pisces and move into this new age that we're dealing with, it's a completely different style of thinking. This is a completely new age way of thinking. As a matter of fact, there was a song back in the day that came out called The Age of Aquarius. I suggest y'all go check out that song because that's exactly what we began to move into. And now we've only been almost 11 years into the Age of Aquarius, and look at the drastic change that's happened in society. Already society's almost been flipped on its head and is completely crumbling because all of the old ways that we were doing things in the age of Pisces will no longer sustain us in the age of Aquarius. Going and attributing things to somebody else is not going to work in the age of Aquarius. You have to be responsible for what you do. It wasn't the devil's fault. It wasn't God's fault. It was your fault because all of these things are making up you. All of the good, the bad, the neutral, all of the sad, the happy, the great, the pain, all of that is you. So it's not necessarily about attributing things to people call them sky parents, or to your invisible dad. It's more so about attributing things to the actual righteousness in you. You can be good by society's terms, or you can be bad by society's terms. But I'm more so concerned about whether or not you're being righteous in your actions. Your spirit might be called to do things that people would consider bad, but I wouldn't necessarily say they're bad if that's what you've been called to do by the greater power. I would rather you be righteous in your intentions, be out here doing things that you actually feel are right for you, than doing things that were told to you. Then just because you read a book, now you feel morally correct. No, that's not the case. And I understand a lot of people coming out of the age of Pisces, they need certain things in order to keep them morally correct. Because a lot of people, if they didn't have faith, they'd be completely out here wilding. And you and I both know that. If they didn't know that there was a hell they could put you in and a heaven to go to, motherfuckers would be losing their shit. It would be chaos out here. Tohu bohu, as the Jewish would say. You know what I'm saying? Shit would it'd be crazy. But we need those things, and we needed those things in the age of Pisces. But moving into the age of Aquarius, ain't none of that. That's why you see all of these identity politics happening right now. That's why you see all these things happen with how people identify, and you see people shying away from traditional, not only religion, but traditional views when it comes to government, when it comes to banking, when it comes to gender roles. All of the things that we traditionally formed in that old age will not be serving us or be able to maintain themselves in this new age. It's a wild time that we're living in, but it's also going to be set straight once we get things together and we realize that our voices are going to be way more important than the voices of the old that are teaching agendas that aren't righteous, man. So that's what I was really looking at, and that's what I'm seeing us moving into. It's just going to take a little bit of time for the world to catch up and see exactly what happened on December 21st, 2012.
Absolutely, man. I hear you repeat this righteous, righteous, righteous. And it's something that I say all the time because it's the only thing that it defines my attempted behavior. My attempt behavior at all times is to act righteously.
There you go.
And it doesn't always work. And Jordan Peterson talks about it a lot, like you were talking about how humans and our connection to God, our connection to a higher power, how all these things that are happening now maybe happen because we were taught to believe that we can't achieve that godliness of thought and action. But to me, it's like even if that's true, I don't believe it's true. I mean, I believe that a human being through intensive thought and work, and action, just like the Buddha or Gandhi or Jesus or Muhammad can attain these states of godliness. I believe that it's true for a human being to transcend through that process, through work. But even if you are to say, like myself, sometimes I meditate all the time. I'm not trying to be enlightened. Hey, it'd be nice. I'm not really sure what it is, but I'm here putting in the work.
Yeah.
But true in deep in me, I don't believe that. But I still strive for it, dude. Like, why would I not work towards it? Because if I could even get, a little bit, then that improves my life. And it's something that I continually tell people about. Like you're saying, a lot of people wouldn't go to the prison and give them an hour a week or whatever at the time. But I'm not bragging here. I feel bad about myself for that, man. I'm just being real. I feel like I could be doing more. I feel like that's not enough. I'm continually searching for different ways for, me to get involved because sometimes I do feel a lack of purpose. Sometimes I do feel a lack of motivation. Sometimes I do feel down and out about myself and not connected to the source or this godly flow state that I have connected to and have maintained for days and days on end, and I'm killing it. I call it firing on all cylinders, but then I go through these lulls where maybe it be through diet or a bad decision, or I'm not exactly sure. It's that experimentation that's showing me how to live my life because I am analyzing why. How did I fall off? Why did I fall off? But if I didn't have that belief that I could achieve that or something close to it, I would be a person like me who is very in here a lot would be very sad. It would be sad for me, man. And I feel like a lot of people are caught in that trap, that disconnect, not only from God, but nature or just any higher power. Because, to me, God's another funny one. When I started praying, I didn't believe in God. I genuinely did not believe in God. Part of my faith in God came from praying and it working. And part of the work for me with prayer was just a simple release. I said things that I was ashamed of. I said hopes and dreams and goals that I was afraid to say out loud because I thought somebody would tell me I wasn't good enough or that you're crazy. And through that process and that process alone, without even before my belief and faith come, which I very, hold firmly in my heart today, it helped me on that level. And I encourage people to try that, so maybe that they'll find their rendition of God, because it doesn't have to be my God or Cam's God or anyone else's God. It just is ultimately beneficial for any human to feel something more powerful than themselves and to try to attain or connect to it. And that is my way of aiming for the righteous, aiming for the godlike, aiming for the honorable, the just, and the true. And it seems like, man, you saying that word righteous over and over again, and it's sort of given me goosebumps and renewed energy and vigor, because I do think that's where our voice is going to be most important in the upcoming days.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to decalcify that pineal gland, man. And that's how you do it, man. You gotta hit it with that righteousness chisel. Like, you're righteous, you're righteous, you're righteous. just hit it over and over and over again, to just, even if you do make a mistake, was I righteous in my intentions? Okay, then it wasn't a mistake. I just misread the situation. It wasn't meant to be in that spot. I shouldn't have done it that way. We can learn how to do something, even how not to do something. That's why I can learn from anybody. It's really awesome to really be able to, like, walk down and realize what's going on here. And I realize that when we talk to each other, especially when we're speaking to each other about things that we do and don't want to see done anymore, we have to have grace and understand what's going on, man. You spoke about the deity and whatnot. And even when people speak about God, they always look up. Or it's like they always talk like, what I'm saying? It's like this ether in the air, like, oh, I want to be like God. You know what I'm saying? And it's not, and I'm not saying that because none of us are God. Like, none of us, I didn't create you, you didn't create me. And I don't create things around me, but I do influence them. And I truly believe that we are meant to be vessels for the infinite spirit to have infinite opportunities to experience life. And that's going to come in many forms, over and over and over again. That's truly all this body and all Earth School is, an opportunity for the infinite spirit to experience infinite forms of life. That includes pain, that includes suffering, that includes the life of the rich and famous, that includes mistakes, that includes being perfect. There's multiple, almost infinite ways that the infinite spirit is going to be able to live life. But what I want people to understand about talking about the infinite spirit is, it can't be 10 zillion miles away, like Stevie Wonder said. You know what I'm saying? There's a song by Stevie Wonder where he said, "Where is your God? Inside, please let him be." And they say it's taking God so long to come back because we got so far to go. And so many people say that heaven's 10 zillion miles away, but it's not. It's really within you. It really is a mindset thing, like Funny Marco would say. And I'm not saying that you're going to be walking around and you're going to see streets of gold and you'll be walking on clouds and drinking wine and singing hymnals and praises everywhere you go. But you can have praise and worship in your car when you're going to and from work, really rejoicing and having a great time and being happy to be alive. You can fellowship and break bread and drink with your family and friends and really be happy and embrace those moments. You can sit in solitude, in meditation, in prayer, and be humble enough to realize that there are things operating outside of things that you can influence. Because at the end of the day, man, I'm not trying to be a control freak. I'm not trying to control the world. I don't want motherfuckers to be unbiased no more. I swear to you, bro. I don't want people to be unbiased no more. Don't do it. Don't do it. Look at me. I'm crazy. I'm going crazy. Don't do it. Like, no,
Change the
don't
name.
do it. Don't be unbiased. I swear to you, don't do it unless it truly identifies with your spirit. Don't listen to what we've said on this podcast. Not a single word, unless it identifies with your spirit. Now, are we going to have some hit or miss moments because of the way we worded things? Sure. You don't like the way I cuss? Fuck it, my bad. But at the end of the day, yo, the righteous intention behind it is what we're hoping you understand, okay? Don't worry about the messenger in this new era. Focus on the message. That'll get you further at this point. Because the infinite spirit is going to send imperfect messengers all the time and always has throughout the history of existence. Every religious figure you know is going to be imperfect because they wear this skin and bleed this blood. So just accept the message as long as it's coming from a righteous place within your spirit, not mine, and not within your society. That's how you're going to be able to move, fam. For real. It's got to come from within.
I think if more and more people would do that, then the heaven that you so speak of, we would be getting a lot closer to that. I think that heaven and hell are a state of mind. You know, that they talk about, or you've heard of people with millions of dollars in mansions and describing their life as hell. And then I always tell a story about a homeless woman in Atlantic City that I met when I was waiting outside of a doctor's office, who was smiling and telling me how good God was. Yeah. So it is, we can make that our own state. And like you said, there won't be ups and downs and in-betweens, but it's that state that you carry yourself in that makes your heaven or hell. I also think that if people began to live the way that you're encouraging them to live, by their own standards, by their own moral compass, by being their true, authentic selves, that we would make major strides in going to that without any influence of the law or the government or religion or anything, because most of these things are intrinsic. The problem is that disconnect that we continually talk about, and then you have that counterforce with the agenda claiming that all these inauthentic ways of life are me being me. And also between the distractions and the other things that I spoke about in my last episode, the things we eat, the products in our home, the things that they're putting in our water, the things that are in our air, other things, people may not even understand the level of defense that I believe you have to be at to maintain that connection. But if people would start to see those things, like stop eating fast food, stop eating GMOs, stop using products that have known carcinogens in them, products that are illegal in other countries, start exercise, daily exercise, breath work, meditation, all these things, and just get away from the news, the media, LA and Hollywood, and all the propaganda that they continually push down your throat. If these things would just stop, or you could detach yourself from it and get away, like you said, these efforts happen through extreme coordination, but also from extreme isolation. Yep. And that's what happened to me when I went to prison. That and some things before that, I don't really know how to say, but fuck it. Cam's been cursing the whole time. I might as well talk about drugs. I'm going to put the explicit label on it. If it wasn't for some LSD back in the 90s and my extreme isolation in prison, because not only was I in prison, but because I could not get a good handle on my thoughts or behavior, I was in administrative segregation quite a bit. Fortunately for me, while I was there, I was allowed a trip to the library where I met a Buddhist gentleman who gave me Buddhist scriptures to read while I was in isolation. And that's what did it for me, man. That extreme isolation and that long meditations and yoga. When I hit the streets, I was already so true, authentic in my vibe. There was nobody could tell me that would influence me, man. Yeah. But going back years and years, I could be influenced by the slightest trigger of an emotion, the slightest woman that walked down the street, the slightest guy that makes me angry, any slight provocation. Not to mention what I was viewing, listening to, and eating and all these things. I could be influenced very easily, but because I had that privilege. I call prison a privilege. Me, I know it was one of the best things that happened to me. I know it sounds very paradoxical, but for me, I was one of the lucky ones that was able to rehabilitate myself, not through any efforts of the state, through efforts of the human spirit. But through that, I came out so in my bag, so so confirmed in who I was and what I was supposed to be doing, that none of that stuff could happen. I couldn't be influenced. I couldn't be deterred. And I pray that other people not go to prison or not have to have some catastrophic problem in their life, like I have had, to come to that realization. And I guess that's another point while I'm at it with the effort and having you on. You're so eloquent with your words and powerful in your speaking to share this message with people before they have to experience that really, hard rock bottom or even anything like it before they can come to this place, man. I guess we're going to start wrapping it up. We're getting close to the 46 minutes. What is your help with people before we let go to find that true direction, that true north that's within their own heart and soul?
Man, you really spoke to my spirit, not only just in this episode, but every time that you message me. I'm thinking about you even when I'm not messaging you, bro. And I know that you feel it, man. Truly. You got a lovely family, a lovely spirit, and it radiates. And it's even more powerful now that you've been on hiatus. And let me be very delicate with the way I say this, because I know it's a lot of people dealing with things, and they're also dealing with vocabulary and language that it's helping them in this state of depression or anxiety or fear. I don't feel that I've been on a hiatus. I don't feel like I've been away. If anything, I've been fasting. And the benefits of fasting are not only physical, it's spiritual, it's emotional, it's financial. It's so many other esoteric benefits to fasting from not only food, social media, from your own ego, from your friends, your family, sugars, like you were talking about, all the food, because all of these things play into you continuing to serve this matrix. You could be doing great for a week, but the minute you go check out Chick-fil-A, you've now reverted back to the system that you've been working so hard to free yourself from. And all of that is fuel for you to stay in this state. I'm not saying you got to just only drink water, berries, and juices that you've grown and whatnot, but it would help because you know the soil, you know the energy that it took in order to grow it, and therefore it doesn't only just have a physical benefit. Now it has an emotional benefit because you're tied to that fruit or that food. It has a spiritual benefit because you know what it takes to grow that food. It has an emotional benefit and spiritual and also a financial benefit because guess what? Now you got your own ciabatta back in your pocket. You now have the ability to feed your family on the land that we live on. But see, you wouldn't know that if all you want to do is go by and get some fast food. That's almost become now you got Taco Tuesday, Burger Monday, Wild Out Wednesday, Thirsty Thursday, Freaky Fridays, Shitty Saturdays. You got all kind of crazy, and you got brunch on Sundays. It's a routine now. It's a matrix. But fasting from these things is very important, and not just fasting when you have to. Fasting when you have it, man. You know how hard it is to still eat ramen noodles when you got thousands of dollars in the bank? But I be on that. You know how hard it is to walk when you could just go buy a car, get an Uber? I be on that. You know how difficult it is to ride the bus when you could easily just rent a car and drive to whatever city you want to go to? But I be on that. Want to know why? Because I'm fasting from the convenient things that don't make me feel more human. All of these luxuries, all of these things that we give up in order to feel like we're more connected aren't helping us on an individual level. And it's important that as an individual, when you step in the room, you know what your energy can and can't influence. You know what your presence means whenever it's just around. You ain't even got to say shit. Just you being in the room validates a lot of people's speech. Just by you being around in certain areas, it gives people this ability to feel like they can stand on what they're standing on. But see, you wouldn't know that if you're constantly watching content being created and not being a person. See, you wouldn't know that if you're letting the algorithm decide how you should think. You wouldn't know that if instead of actually going to your friend's house, you just scroll through their page to check up on them. You wouldn't know that. And it's the things that we don't know now in this era that's fucking me up. Like I'm over here, like I'm about to like cry because it's like it's wild to me, bro, to see like the amount of disconnect that we have, even though we're more connected than ever. The people on the bus that I just have genuine conversations with on a daily basis. Just like these are real people, man. I know that there's real people on the internet, but these screens don't do much. Not anymore. Not for the free thinking individual. These screens ain't enough. Look, man, all of us are going to give something, but some of us are going to give all. Who you going to be? You got to give something anyway, right? You going to give your all, or you going to give a little bit? And I can't go down in history by just saying I gave some. I can't let my story be written like that. Now I can't control how they digest it. Who lives, who dies, who tells my story. I can't control that shit. You know what I'm saying? I can't control that. But what I can do is, while I'm here, document these things. And like I said, start thinking with that waffle brain and closing the chapter on certain books. You know what I'm saying? Shutting the door on certain topics. Letting people know what we will and not tolerate. Not only me, but the generations after me, man. They need somebody that they can identify with. If you got to believe in something, why not believe in righteousness? And I'm hoping that that righteousness is an internal righteousness, because you got to have that authentic power now more than ever. I can't say it enough, bruh. Righteousness. And I know that word is like the boogeyman in certain areas because it can be subjective. But I'm telling you right now, it's not subjective when you know who you are, because you know what role you play. If you're the joker in the gesture, if you're righteous to your intentions, we'll be able to see it. If you're the general, we'll be able to see it. If you're the king, we can establish that. But playing a role in society because that's what they told you need to be, that shit ain't gonna work in this new era. Doing things because somebody told you that's what you need to do, that shit ain't gonna work in this era. We have the ability as people that have platforms to give content, but we're not content creators, bro. We're real people providing opportunities for people to be righteous, man. So that's really how I feel about it, man. Like, I'm glad that you gave me the opportunity to stop fasting for a little bit and pour into not only you but the real ones around the world, man. Like, it's not just us anymore, man. And I know it's not many of us, but less is more, Robert. It's plenty of us.
Hey man, I can't add anything to that to make it more impactful, to make it more powerful, to make it more genuine. I just want to thank you for the bottom of my heart, always. First, just for being my friend, man. I
Yeah.
value your friendship very much in my life, and I believe it to be important to let people know how you feel while you're here and living, man. And thank you for breaking your fast, because I
Yeah.
asked you a couple times, like, because I understand the process in so many ways. I made sure you were comfortable with it. I had a lot of things that I wanted to talk to you about, and we talked about all of them today without me
Dope.
really even digging into the topic list. And I thank you so much for, like I said, breaking the fast and coming on, man, and saying all these wonderful, beautiful things. It's always a
Absolutely.
pleasure.
It is always a pleasure, man. I say that these words come from the unbiased truth, but when I'm talking to you, man, I got to take that truth and turn it into love, man, because I genuinely do love you. I love what you do. I don't give a fuck about how many people like your post. I'm going to like it. I don't care who's watching it. I'm watching it. And I know people around the world feel the exact same when they're watching what you do and viewing what you do, because they don't. Whenever I'm listening to your podcast, it only feels like you're talking to me. I don't really realize that you put that out for somebody else to hear it too. It's like, this dude is so personal and in my face with it. It doesn't feel like there's anybody else but me and him on this journey, man. But I know this because I see the way other people embrace you, man. And I don't just embrace you because they do. I embrace you because you see me. And I just, like I said, bro, I cannot thank you enough. It was a no-brainer when you asked me, especially the way you made me feel comfortable enough to even come on and speak, bro. Because like you said, bro, I've been on that. I've been on this fast for a while, bro. I've been on this fast for a while, and I didn't just ultimately tell people what I was doing. I didn't come out and tell my platform, "Hey, everybody, I'm gone." You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people do that. Hey, y'all, I'm about
Yeah.
to go away for a little bit, and I just wanted to say I love the channel, and
Yeah.
support me, and make sure you hit the Cash App and the Patreon and the PayPal while I'm away. Like, you know what I'm saying? Nah, I ain't do all that. Like I said, bro, I'm not a content creator, fam. I am a real person and has a platform, bro. So if I'm gone, I'm gone. But when I come back, you know what I'm saying? Just like my guy Moses, man, I'm coming back with the tablets. All right. I'm coming back with the tablets. I'm coming back with the commandments. We're gonna set some shit